Call this meeting to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Trustee Polly,
Present.
trustee Lappin,
Here.
clerk Palovich here, treasurer Ellery Summers.
Here.
Trustee Kroll,
Here.
trustee Reiner,
Here.
supervisor Skibby.
Here. Moving forward to the adoption of the agenda, there is one new business item to be added. We'll just do it numeric order. New 12 will be fire department TCP quote, which is time clock plus. With that amendment, are there any other additions, corrections, amendments to the agenda? If not, I'll entertain a motion to adopt the amended agenda as presented.
So moved.
We have a motion on the table to adopt the amended agenda. Is there support? Support. It's been moved and supported. Further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, the same. Moving forward in the agenda, this is the first opportunity for public comment. The first opportunity for public comment in our agenda is to discuss purely the topics that are on and statements and comments for agenda items as they sit. The second opportunity is more of the open, fair, general statements and comment. Yeah, and we also have, given the fact that under old business, we have resolution 5, which is for the North Point Shores Special Assessment District that will have its own public comments period. So just for points of clarification. Is there any public comment online or in person? If you're online and have public comment, please use the bottom taskbar under more. There is raise your hand, shoot us a message so that we can identify you and listen to your public comment. Seeing none, move forward to the consent agenda. Is there anything that needs to be pulled for further discussion or conversation in regards to the consent agenda? If not, I'd entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
So moved.
We have a motion on the table to approve the consent agenda as presented. Is there support? Support. Been moved and supported. Further discussion? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Clerk Palovich, yes. Treasurer Ellery Summers.
Yes.
Trustee Kroll,
Yes.
trustee Reiner,
Yes.
trustee Polly.
Yes.
Trustee Lappin.
Yes.
Supervisor Skibby.
Yes. Moving forward into old business, this is resolution 5 in regards to the special assessment district on North Point Shores. I'd entertain a motion to open the public comment period for the special assessment role of North Point Shores. Is there a motion to that effect?
I'll make that motion.
We have a motion and support by trustee Polly to open the public comment period for resolution 5 and the North Point Shores special assessment. Further discussion? Roll call.
Treasurer Ellery Summers.
Yes.
Trustee Kroll,
Yes.
trustee Reiner,
Yes.
trustee Polly.
Yes.
Trustee Lappin.
Yes.
Clerk Palovich, yes. Supervisor Skibby.
Yes. Okay, at this point in time, Tim, would you like a quick overview of resolution 5?
Sure, this is the final step in the special assessment process. Previously, there was a public hearing on the necessity where people could object if they didn't want the special assessment project to continue. Got past that stage. The special assessment role has been prepared regarding the amount to be assessed to the various property owners, and applicable statutes require a second public hearing, this one specifically on the special assessment role. And if a person wishes to object to the proposed special assessment role, they can do so. Must do so in writing. It can be real simple. It's on a piece of paper we can provide. I object to the role, name, address, So this is that opportunity, and public comment can be given regarding the project.
I did receive 2 emails regarding the North Point Shores special assessment. One is against. And the other one is for it.
Okay. Yep, so those can be included in
In the
this
public.
district file, yep, and also you can just include those with your file,
Okay,
because that they can't stop the project
Okay.
through objecting. It's for their own, it's a prerequisite if they wanted to challenge
Okay.
it to the tax tribunal.
With that being said, the public hearing is open. If there's any comment in regards to the North Point Shores Special Assessment District, please stand to the podium, state only your name clearly for this public hearing. Giddy up. Give another opportunity. There's no but if there is anybody online that has a public comment in regards to the public hearing and regarding North Point Shores Special Assessment District, please use the bottom taskbar under the ellipsis of more to raise your hand. Please submit your name for public comment. Seeing none online and none in person.
We can do a motion to close the public hearing, and then the board can discuss the proposed resolution.
So at this point in time, seeing no comment online or in person, I'd entertain a motion to close the public hearing in regards to the North Point Shores Special Assessment District.
So moved.
We have a motion to close the public hearing. Is there support? It's been moved and supported to close the public hearing. Further discussion? Seeing none, roll call please.
trustee Kroll,
Yes.
trustee Reiner,
Yes.
trustee Polly,
Yes.
trustee Lappin,
Yes.
clerk Flavich, yes. Treasurer Ellery Summers.
Yes.
Supervisor Skibby.
Yes. That concludes the North Point Shores Special Assessment public hearing, and now on to resolution 5, Tim.
Resolution 5 was prepared by Dan Boyle, my law partner, who's been handling this matter. And it, in effect, confirms the special assessment role that is on file with the township. And we'll set that into motion. So it'd be a motion and a second to adopt this resolution.
I'll make,
We have a motion on the table to adopt the resolution as presented by Clerk Palovich. Is there support?
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Further discussion? Seeing none. Roll call.
trustee Reiner,
Yes.
trustee Polly,
Yes.
trustee Lappin,
Yes.
clerk Flavich, yes. Treasurer Ellery Summers.
Yes.
Trustee Kroll,
Yes.
Supervisor Skibby.
Yes.
Thank you.
Moving forward. So moving forward with old business. Is. Good to go.
Yeah.
Copy that. So next item of old business is fire department countywide matching fund radio purchase. Chief Hanson, would you please take the podium?
Sure will.
How's everybody doing tonight?
Good, thank you.
Good. At our last board meeting, we had Miss Elke, 911 director out here, and we had talked about the funds from the countywide radio funds that were going to be able to be matched. At that particular meeting, she wasn't sure if all the monies would be allocated for all departments, but apparently there was a little bit left over. And by Supervisor Skibby's direction to her is if there was any money left over at that time, at the end of this cycle where all the departments have made their decision, is that we would be interested in that. And by doing so, it would allow us to add a couple more pagers to our funding, which would be very critical for us. So what I'm asking is that the last meeting, the board approved the $3,044.20 match. I would like to rescind that motion and now come up with a new total for a match of $3,339.78 with the total project cost of $6,799.54. So the county would be picking up that matching fund.
So we have a recommendation from chief to set aside the previous motion with the expenditure at the total of $3,044.20 and to move forward with a new motion to match the county their match of $3,399.78 towards a total project cost of $6,799.54 to be paid out of GL 205-336-850-000. Is there a motion to that recommendation and that effect?
I'll make that motion.
We have a motion on the table. Is there support?
I'll support.
It's been moved and supported. Further discussion? Yes, Laura.
Why would we rescind instead of just leaving that and then making a new motion for the difference right now? I mean, right?
355.
I mean, I don't,
You can set aside or vacate the previous motion.
I just,
It's cleaner. The one thing that we can do now, we have a figure. So we could, yeah, I guess you could go forward with the previous motion and then make another motion for the difference. But
Either
why
way,
would
we
you
end
have
up,
two motions? It gets muddy. If you can just get it back onto one page,
Okay.
it's just cleaner. I know that the auditors would rather see that.
So a yes vote rescinds the prior motion and then we'd make a new motion.
Correct. We can actually do it. The motion can actually be
It's-
made in a way that
Is that
the
what it is?
recommendation is to set aside and to approve.
it's all in one
In one.
motion.
Is it? Okay.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, roll call please.
Trustee Polly,
Yes.
trustee Lappin,
Yes.
clerk Palovich, yes. Treasurer Ellery Summers.
Yeah.
Trustee Kroll,
Yes.
trustee Reiner.
Yes.
Supervisor Skibby.
Yes. As it stands currently, our CPA, is to be giving, the audit review at this point in time. We'll catch back up to, Chelsea, Meter, who is our auditor, through SLK. But just to stay on our new business, I guess I looked at the board. We can look at this as two different ways. We can receive and file the audit as presented and then let her give her presentation, or we can push this down.
Does Tim need it approved though, so you
Yeah.
can,
Yeah, I
The
need
time-
it approved
time
tonight.
he has a
uh,
time,
Yeah, well, I'm saying we're gonna. approve
23
and
South
file.
Water bonds, I've got to
Yeah.
file it with an agency.
do we need a motion, Tim, to make a motion and approve, or can we just receive a file?
I'm representing to the bond agency that you've approved it.
Okay,
If you think you can do that, if you're ready to, I could.
So my question to the board is, do we want to make that motion and approve it before the presentation or after? That's,
I'm
my-
fine doing it.
Yeah.
before.
I'm fine.
so then we'll stay current.
I'll make that motion to approve.
So we have a motion on the table to approve the audit report presented by Straley Lamp and Kranz.
I'll
Is there
support.
support?
I'll
Been
support.
moved and supported. Further discussion?
So that we're all on the same page, I would like to have the CPA come in and talk about the findings and a few other things.
She was on the docket to give that
Yeah,
presentation this evening.
figured that.
That's
was the
why.
case.
We're kind of somewhat surprised. Maybe they think that we still meet at 7 o'clock, which could be a potential. So that being said, yes, they are scheduled to give a
Okay.
presentation of the findings.
And I guess if
This
she doesn't
evening.
make it today, we will make sure she's at the next board
Got it.
meeting.
So we have a motion and support on the table. Further discussion? Roll call, please.
Trustee Lappin,
Yes,
clerk Palovich, treasurer Ellery Summers.
Yes,
Trustee Kroll,
Yes.
trustee Reiner.
Yes.
Trustee Polly.
Yes.
Supervisor Skibby.
Yes. Moving forward, you'll see in your packet, a proposal for professional services from C2AE. An engineering firm that the township has historically, used. This is a contract that is retroactive, solely for the fact that, out of litigation purposes and need, this contract was already, approved. So doesn't happen very often, but when I got a contract on 9/29 that had to be approved by October 1 for court purposes. This keeps our position full. This is the same company that did some of the exact same reporting in 2018. So it per legal, this is the most holistic way for it is to utilize the same firm and as much of the similarities to mitigate any other additional expenses through the arduous process. So at this point in time, I would entertain a motion to approve the professional services contract as an expert witness as presented.
I'll make that motion to contract with C2AE for their professional services.
No support.
Expertise.
And we have a motion and support. Further discussion?
I did have, if I may,
Yes, sir.
certainly. I did have in paragraph F on page one, let's see. I wondered if that's a practical, in other words, if we have an objection to an invoice, is it practical for us to agree to in writing object within 10 days or? I mean, can we do that given, can staff do that? Can you guys do that without a board decision?
Well, and I guess leaning back into chief financial officer, if we're into a contract and we have a dispute with an invoice, we deal with those on a fairly regular
Say
basis.
we do it
anyways.
daily almost,
Okay.
if we don't
Alright,
agree
So
with an
I,
invoice.
I feel fairly confident that within 2 business weeks, that would be accomplished, especially with our legal representatives, Mr. Patterson and Mr. Brennan are between.
That's the only thing that jumped out at me.
Copy that. And this was actually fully reviewed and vetted by water litigation staff. So they seem pretty confident with it. There's no more discussion, roll call please.
Clerk Palovich, yes. Treasurer Ellery Summers.
Yes.
Trustee Kroll,
Yes.
Trustee Reiner.
Yes.
Trustee Foley,
Yes.
Trustee Lappin.
Yes.
Supervisor Skibby.
Yes. Moving forward into the next item of budget adjustments, fairly straightforward, adjustments in all 3 principal funds, general hosting the most, and then public safety is just grant allocation back to a GL for expenditure, and then in water it is shifting money from maintenance on system into professional and contractual services. With that being stated, I'd entertain a motion to move forward with the budget adjustments as presented.
Motion to approve.
We have a motion to approve the budget adjustments as presented. Is there support? Support. It's been moved and supported. Further discussion?
Was that supported by anyone?
Trustee Paul, yes. Seeing no other discussion, roll call please.
Treasurer Ellery Summers.
Yes.
Trustee Kroll,
Yes.
Trustee Reiner.
Yes.
Trustee Foley,
Yes.
Trustee Lappin.
Yes.
Clerk Palovich, yes. Supervisor Skibby.
Yes. Okay, first item of the next series of items is a recommendation to send Mr. Stackwitz to a training course. Chief Anson?
All right, thank you. As you well know, Jim Stackowitz is our training officer. Been doing a very fine job for us, for the township. And with the new requirements that are coming out for anybody to become an officer down the road, or future chief or deputy chief, they all have to have a new training for all the fire officer trainings. By Jim taking this training, it will be a train the trainer, so he can get more people certified for officer trainings, which will definitely benefit this township down the road. And it's my recommendation. And even though we did not put it in there, and I had a personal meeting last Friday, Jim was going to volunteer his mileage, and it was suggested at the personal meeting that he would not do that if he's going on behalf of the township. So I don't have a total for what it'll cost for mileage for that, but I would like to include that with his request. If that's possible. I'm not sure how we do that if I,
It's almost 250 miles, or almost exactly 250 miles round trip.
oh, is it? Okay.
Yes.
Is there any reason why he couldn't take the 2020 board?
We can make arrangements.
So just a 1-day class there and back?
No, it's 3.
No, the tires aren't very good on it.
I thought I just got new tires.
Well, did we? I didn't see that in the bill. I just saw the recommendation.
They're all new tires.
I guess that would be a determination of allocation of resources.
So Jim and I had spoken with that and he had other reasons for wanting to take his personal vehicle, but we'll talk about it with Jim.
Well, if that's the case, then my recommendation outside of the 2020 is to go to Hudson's Motors and rent a vehicle. Because it is actually cheaper outside of basically dealer is the threshold of the cost value. So
Anything past Gaylord.
anything over 100 miles one way, so at 200 miles round trip, you're actually mitigating costs by utilizing a rental service versus paying out at, what is it? What is it?
52 cents a mile.
67
Oh,
and a half.
Is it really?
0.5 cents is the
Wow.
new federal mileage.
What is the mileage?
It's like $200.
67.5 cents.
67.5?
So it is cheaper to
It's
rent a
cheaper to
vehicle.
rent a vehicle, so that is my recommendation henceforth. That's
We
what I
could
do.
make a motion to approve this with the rental of a vehicle.
And I could just get with Supervisor Skibby and we'll discuss that, I guess, and see what Jim.
Well, and at this point, you would be making that decision by motion, that if we're gonna be cost effective, then it would be following the motion. So if you're good
This
with
is
that,
gonna be before a next board meeting.
yeah. Yeah, so
I would make the motion to approve this with the, also including a rental vehicle.
we have a
Okay.
motion on the table. Is there
I'll
support? It's been moved and supported. Further discussion?
You historic, we've done this before, I presume, and how much has it cost to rent a car?
I was able to get to East Lansing and back for a funeral, for under $100.
Oh, well, then no matter.
And I
what,
think
it's
it was
gonna
just
be-
over $100 once I filled up that little portion.
Yeah, so
So it was a no brainer. The threshold is 100 miles one way. After that,
He had to
It
pedal
was-
uphill.
starts mitigating costs.
We've done the math
So,
a few times on it.
This is not, unfortunately, there is not an opportunity for public now.
is there is there an opportunity, once he's trained, to train other people in the county?
Absolutely.
And can that be done as a feed service, or is that just pro bono?
We could do that.
So we have a motion and support on the table. Barring any further discussion, roll call vote, please.
Wait, hold on, I've got a question.
Yes.
Before we go there. This was a there and back?
No, it's a 3-day.
Oh,
That's-
I thought I
It's,
heard
yeah,
you
it's
say-
3 days. I think it's 3
Okay,
days.
I'm sorry,
It includes room and
I just saw. the
housing
house.
and, yeah.
Right. Yeah, it's like 2 nights and then they are in class for like the 3rd day for part of the day and then they can return. So they're,
Okay.
2.5 days.
yeah, pretty much.
Any other discussion in regards to the motion and the support that's on the table?
How come it says 51170? Cost of class 51170, but then down here it says. The cost of registration and lodging for them to attend instructor conference is a total of 589.
I don't know, these numbers don't match.
You know why that?
So Jim had put his numbers on there, 51170, the original class fee. And then he had housing again, he got a discount on housing, so I don't know if that come in after the fact. But this would be a high number, I would think.
So what number is right? You know, the 51170 or the?
It's 51170 if you add these up.
Oh,
Next
okay.
page.
Yeah,
So
class
it's,
fee
okay.
250.
so it should be 51170 plus the cost of rent.
Yes.
That's requesting the motion.
Yeah. So we have a motion and support. Would you clarify the motion just so that everybody
The motion is to approve the training
as presented?
as presented for 51170 plus the cost of a rental vehicle.
Yeah, barring any further discussion, roll call vote.
Trustee Kroll,
Yes.
trustee Reiner.
Yes.
Trustee Polly,
Yes.
trustee Lappin.
Yes,
Clerk Palovich, yes. Treasurer Ellery Summers.
Yeah.
Treasurer
Yes. I have another question.
Supervisor Skibby.
Yes.
No, I
So
just,
by all means, Laura.
well, my question is, I mean, the class is one thing, but shouldn't the room be under like transportation and travel?
Yes. It needs to be split up.
Yeah.
It wouldn't all be under the
Yeah,
same
it's
GL.
not all that same jail.
Okay, I wasn't sure, so I put it all under training, but
Yeah,
It'll be split appropriately between,
okay,
and I'll put that,
we can code
Just as
that
a
properly then.
footnote in your
Yeah.
motion.
yeah.
Okay, So we added a footnote to the motion that the cost would be allocated per proper GL. Moving forward, the next item of business, Dean Arbor Ford invoice.
Sorry, just finishing a note here. Okay. Get that one up. All right, we had well, since the day we got the vehicle, we had, after the first week, I had an airbag light come on in the vehicle. So I had scheduled to get the thing looked at. We took it down. They had found a little harness underneath the steering column that was a wire had been defective, whatever. They were going to put a new harness on it. So I scheduled an appointment. We actually missed one. And we had a little snafu in scheduling a couple different times. Finally got the thing in there. One mechanic had put a temporary fix in there, a wire. They were waiting a harness. So that my thought was we were taking it back just for this harness that we were supposed to be under warranty. And when they were looking into the problem, they found some other codes. I guess I don't know all the codes that they found, but they found some other codes that were flashing up on their computer saying there was other problems other than this harness. Different mechanic looked at it the second time than the first time. And that was, the first time I was in there was prior to us doing any retrofitting for the vehicle for light sirens, all that type of stuff. So I had really no knowledge of what they were going to find. I was assuming that they were taking it in for this airbag replacement wiring diagram or whatever they had to put in the vehicle. Turns out mechanic that put the vehicle up on the rack or attempted to put the vehicle up on the rack. And he says, I don't know, I've pulled 2,000 vehicles in there. Never had a problem. As he pulled into the rack, the left front tire hit one of the cross arms that stick out for lifting the vehicle and punctured the tire. So they called me and said, oh, we got a problem. I goes, well, really can't have a 4-wheel drive with one different size tire than the other 3 because we're going to have a problem. So the general manager, Mr. Studley, said, we're going to take care of that and we're going to put all 4 brand new tires on it for you. Perfect. So that was good. However, getting into the service of the vehicle and trying to figure out what these codes were flashing up on their computer, he had to pull out the center console because there's a bundle of wires that run from the front of the truck to the back of the front of the truck to the back of the truck. And apparently when the radio was mounted into the vehicle, one of those the bundle of wires got nicked with a screw on installation. So they had to fix those. The biggest part of the labor was to get to it. It wasn't so much the actual wires as the biggest problem. The biggest problem was getting the center console and the 2 seats that they had to take out to get to the thing. They had 11 hours of labor into that particular situation. And their bill was originally going to be $1,300 for that service. And then Mr. Studley knocked that bill down to what you see now. So it's unfortunate. There was an accident during installation. It's happened many times for different upfitters out there. Unfortunately, we had a staff that we were trying to save the township money and performed our own duties.
Trustee Paul.
Yes, who installed the radios?
Well, there was 3 or 4 of our folks that were working on the project, and nobody can remember who was the one that actually mounted that particular screw that hit that harness.
So we installed it.
Yeah.
So we're responsible for that.
Yes. So, and immediately they were going to go after the upfitters that actually did our 2 new rescues. I would like to say it was them, but they didn't do that truck. So it was our staff. And I don't know what staff member it was that did it. Tried to investigate that and nobody could remember who did those screws. So that being said, it's an accident. Had we had a laborer do the entire truck, it would have cost us probably $3,000-4,000. I don't know what the going rate is, but it's very pricey to have a professional upfitter put the things in. So, I mean, and I know it's an unfortunate expense. I guess the long short of it is that we ended up with 4 new tires out of the deal. I think the dealership really went above and beyond trying to work with us to make it right as best they could. And it's my recommendation that we, well, there's some lessons been learned, and
Well, and this bill's already been paid. Or,
We have not paid it
This
because the
is-
board has not approved it yet.
so it was, so then there's one missing part of the threshold of expenditures per policy is $500.
correct.
Contact me. If I'm not available, you contact Michelle. If Michelle's not available,
And
contact Laura.
I completely understand that. I just want you to know, I had no idea that we were at that level. And they never called me and said, hey, this is where we're at and we're gonna have this type of price. So I did everything I could do in that dealership, believe me, to try and get that price down. Cause I knew this could possibly be an issue. Long story short was, everybody that worked on that truck, except for the shift guy that was on during the days, were volunteers. Nobody charged anything for their time and effort. In fact, we even had donations for the front, brush guard from one of our people. That was a $300 donation, so there was.
So to this at hand, so we need to make this whole.
Mhm.
So your recommendation is so I'm not gonna beat the dead horse. Just follow policy moving forward to the best of your abilities.
Yeah, understand.
And get a quote before the green light. It's like any dealership, whether it's your personal vehicle or other. I don't give carte blanche to people. Yes, trustee. Brian.
I'd be the first to give him a hard time too, I suppose, but not this time. Having worked in the back end of a garage, this was just no way you could estimate this ahead of time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The labor with wiring harnesses.
Because
we
when
all
you're
know.
dealing with this kind of stuff, you're looking for wherever the needle is in the haystack.
And I will say that
The other thing to keep in mind, it seems to me that we took this into the garage under the pretense of it being a warranty item.
right.
And then it came out that it just flat wasn't. So
Right.
I can't imagine chief could have known any of that stuff in advance.
Click, love it.
I'd just like to make a motion that we pay this bill.
Yeah.
Move on.
I support.
Trustee Lappin made the support to the motion. Move forward with expenditure to the cost of $779.38 to be utilized out of 205-336-931-000. Any further discussion? Seeing none, roll call please.
Trustee Reiner,
Yes.
trustee Polly,
Yes.
trustee Lappin.
Yes.
Clerk Palovich, yes. Treasurer Ellery Summers.
Yes.
Trustee Kroll,
Yes.
Supervisor Skibby.
Yes. Next item of business is the McQueen emergency invoice.
Okay, kind of a similar scenario here. This is something that we have as a yearly flow testing that's required that we do that for our self-contained breathing apparatus. Originally, we had been scheduled for November 10th through this service. My full intention was to bring this before this board for this October meeting, so we'd have the approval for having them come in and doing the flow service. The day I was having a staff meeting, and once our staff meeting was over, we come back and there was a McQueen emergency van sitting out in front, said, oh, I'm here to do your flow testing today. And it's like, I thought that was in November. He goes, well, no, they told me I was in the area to come and do the flow testing today. Well, I really wasn't going to turn the guy back to Detroit or to do that. So it's the required testing there. Who did our testing last year? Well, they've switched companies. It was Apollo. They were bought out by McQueen. But I've since told them that I can't do that for future unless I have board approval for anything over $500. And I learned some things with Supervisor Skibby and some discussions about the 2020 Ford and the process and what we can do there and who I can talk to if he's not around. And so it's
And there again, if an outside sales comes and says, and God bless them for showing up and saying, we can do it now,
Just
just
communicate it.
communicate.
yeah.
When there's no communication, and now we have 3 or 4 different things. My only point with clarification on this, Chief Hansen, is this, what's the difference between, I thought this was the SCBA flow testing was to actually be done concurrent with the city?
So no,
Was there not?
what we do with the city is mask fit testing. So they do the SCBA mask fit testing and the N95 procedures of, getting a proper seal and all the different things. This is the actual mechanics of the actual air pack, the gauges and all the alarms and all the computer software that's in there. They have to flow test that annually and put new software in. There's updates to software. There's computers in the back of our SCBs, believe it or not. It's all programmed via computer. So they require an annual update. Plus they do all the springs and bushings and all the different things that make that air pack safe for the wearer. They go in there and they review all those, the pliability of, all the O-rings and different things like that would prevent a leak in our event our employees are out on a fire.
So we have a recommendation on the table. Yes, sorry.
I was just gonna ask, but was that your question? Because I thought your question, in my head, your question was, do we coordinate with the city so when they're in town?
Well, I
It
mean,
doesn't
because
cost-
all departments would also have that same exact function. So I mean, are we missing the boat with doing this jointly?
I can answer that real quickly.
Giddy up.
The city uses SCBA's from Scott. We use MSA, total different manufacturer, total different set of specs. So there,
And MSA, point of clarification, MSA is sole provider is now McQueen.
that's correct.
So then the one thing that would help moving forward is because some of my notes are, where are the other quotes? So I would recommend to you to bring forward maybe even at the next meeting, that when you have situations such as this, where you don't have the ability to gain second and third quotes, is that you define now McQueen, formerly Apollo, as the sole provider of MSA packs.
Right.
That way, these questions don't. be
Yeah,
popping up of,
that would probably help.
why
as
are
well.
we single sourcing A, B, and C?
Right.
So we have a recommendation by the chief to move forward with the SCBA flow testing from McQueen Emergency for a total of $897 to utilize GL 205-336-801-000 professional and contractual services. Is there a motion to that effect?
I'll make that motion.
We have a motion. Is there support?
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Further discussion? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Trustee Polly.
Yes.
Trustee Lappin.
Yes.
Clerk Palovich, yes. Treasurer Ellery Summers.
Yes,
Trustee Kroll,
Yes.
Trustee Reiner.
Yes.
Supervisor Skibby.
Yes. Next item of business is it's actually an agreement for the Michigan Mutual Aid Box Alarm System, otherwise known as MABUS. We had an MTA meeting this past week out in Osneek Township, where unfortunately we did not have the principal speaker, which was the overarching leader of MABUS in Michigan for our district. But we did have Chief Edmonds present in his absence. This is, as you see in your packet, this is actually a wonderful idea. We actually have Commissioner Francisco, as his tenure in 911, brought this forward. And we're finally getting around to it. And so better late than never. We are the last municipality in this county to join the MABUS situation and scenario. It is a time consuming process of setting forth box tickets and how our response looks in terms of a county-wide response. But it would be also my recommendation to move forward with the MABUS agreement that is brought forward. This is a state certified agreement and they will not change any of the language in it for a single municipality.
Makes sense.
So there is a recommendation. Actually, I would make the motion to move forward with the Michigan Mutual Aid Box Alarm System agreement as presented.
I'll support.
I think everyone wants support it. Who have you given it to?
I don't know.
Whoever said it first.
I think Laura said it first.
Yeah, we'll give it to Laura. So it's a great first step in terms of emergency response to our entire area for the safety and betterment of our citizens. Yes, Laura.
and I just wanted to comment too about the gentleman that was supposed to come and present at the MTA meeting. He had a family emergency and wasn't able to. come.
Yeah,
So,
I wasn't
but I
gonna
mean,
get
we-
into the weeds on it.
well, I know, but I'm just saying, but he wasn't blowing us off
Oh,
by
no.
any means. I
No,
just
no,
don't want
he
anybody
had
to
it
think that.
viable.
He
And
did.
I'm thankful that he missed it. Kind of was hoping that somebody from out of region would give a presentation in a little different fashion. But it was handled professionally and by all.
I just
means.
wanted to make, I mean, so just everybody knew.
Yep.
Made the same.
So, any further discussion in regards to the MABUS agreement as presented? Seeing none?
The other thing I would just comment on for the boards, that if you haven't already been through this, is that it sounds like if we got a call out it's only a small percentage of our total units or total people. That's one thing and the other thing is it's discretionary. I mean,
Right.
If
We
you
do
don't have
not
the
have to send them
resources.
if we don't have, we do not have the staff available.
So we have a motion and support to move forward with the Mavis agreement as presented. Barring any further discussion, roll call please.
Trustee Lappin,
Yes.
clerk Flavich, yes. Treasurer Ellery Summers.
Yes.
Trustee Kroll,
Yes.
Trustee Reiner.
Yes,
Trustee Polly,
Yes.
Supervisor Skibby.
Yes. Moving forward, our two, individual outside employment declarations, and I don't know if it's best served to do them independently. I trying to remember how we've done this.
We've
in the
never had
past.
two at the same time. I don't remember ever having two.
We can do them both from one, can't we?
I think we can
Yeah.
too.
I'm fine with that. So before you have, outside employment declarations, by, Mr. Stackwitz, and then also, Mr. Hoskins.
It doesn't have a name in there.
yeah, I couldn't find his name
No,
either.
Yeah, he
And I was
says.
trying to read it, so
Wait,
you
He didn't
said
put his
add.
employment
They're
name there.
Not on either one of them.
Yeah,
Yeah, he didn't.
His
fill it out
signature's
correctly.
better than mine, but
Claire, is that?
So-
I just want to let the board know that this is a. We're doing it because it's the union contract states we have to. We did know that both of these individuals had already been working these jobs when we hired them full time.
actually, I would err on the side of that as a misstatement. One of them previously stated that he had formerly worked. So, and we knew that, and part of that discussion, if I'm corrected, and I would stand corrected, is that when upon hiring here, that was no longer the condition. This is part of the IAF contract, of which it states before they have any outside employment, they come this direction. They've already been employed and have currently been employed for quite some time. So. But anyways, that is, that is unfortunately how it went, but nonetheless, they brought forward recommendations in their declarations. Of between two employees, one for, My Michigan locally, and then one also for. A Canning location, and then also one, that, as he states. He was doing it prior to his job, which I definitely agree with that statement. But moving forward, City of Grayling and Maple Ridge Fire Department, is there a motion to move forward with the outside employment declarations for both individuals?
Approval of.
Approval of.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, we have an approval and motion on the table by trustee Reiner. Is there support?
I'll support.
It's been moved and supported.
I'm assuming the condition is as long as it doesn't interfere with pay.
It can be removed at any time.
What's that? What's that?
It's part of that we can withdraw these approvals at any time.
Okay. okay.
Yeah,
And my only issue is if we're gonna identify and honor a union contract, then we should anticipate that our employees honor that same contract. Which by timeline, unfortunately, isn't the case, but we have.
but then I feel I do need to,
Yes,
and
by-
but
So do we
that they
do-
did turn these in earlier and the clerk's office misplaced them, so they had to resubmit.
There has been.
them. So there has been a delay in that. I will take
Yep.
ownership of that.
One other question.
Yeah.
So, I sit on another board that annually I have to disclose. If do we do this annually?
No, we do not. It's not part of the contract that we do it annually.
How would we
If
otherwise
we
know?
felt that
It's an
these,
obligation of the employee to bring that forward?
yes.
Okay,
And it has to, by union contract, has to be approved by this body
okay.
before they commence in that.
But my thought is, at least as to these, is if it's a problem in the future, then we will.
And then-
We will address
Yeah,
it.
to address it then.
Yep.
But
So-
and I'm not gonna talk about interfering with the contract, I'll leave that alone.
No, so we have a motion and support for outside employment declarations for two employees, barring any further discussion. Might as well do a roll call.
Clerk Flavich, yes. Treasurer Ellery Summers.
Yes.
Trustee Kroll,
Yes.
Trustee Reiner.
Yes,
Trustee Foley,
Yes.
Trustee Lappin.
Yes.
Supervisor Skibby.
Yes. Moving forward in business, we have a contract with Michigan Air National Guard Mutual Aid Agreement. This is the CRTC. The first iteration of this contract unfortunately did not meet any legal standard. So Tim, went through and made some corrections, and before you is, a contract for mutual aid, with CRTC. And it is full, and they have signed it on base, and so moving forward, it would just be ratified by a signature and approval of this board, and signatures of both the chief and myself. I'd entertain a motion to move forward with mutual aid agreement as presented.
I'll make that motion.
I have a motion on the table to move forward with mutual aid agreement with CRTC. Is there support?
I'll support.
It's been moved and supported. Any further discussion?
Hold harmless and in nutty clause. Is a spell.
Yeah, he didn't catch all the,
I didn't get all the grammar.
he didn't get all the misspelling. The jurisdiction isn't in English either.
Oh, look at this. Whoa.
So let's just,
Run this through the
yeah,
spell check and then sign it.
yeah, maybe.
And I know it's hard to change people's mindsets sometimes, but we have been Alpena Township forever. But we are no longer Alpena Township. We are Charter Township of Alpena. And I think our stuff has to reflect that. So
Well,
if we could,
But it is not a mutual aid agreement with the Charter Township of Alpena, and by legal standard, the way that we are filed through the state is still actually Alpena Township Fire Department.
For the
It did not
licensing of the
change.
fire department.
All of our,
Yeah.
so
Okay.
henceforth, that's why it seems
so through the state, we're Alpena Township Fire Department, but for,
Charter
The-
Township of Alpena.
Yes.
So it's a weird.
I have
concept, but
been
that
working
is-
really hard trying to get these vendors and stuff to change our name, you know what I
Yeah.
mean, to.
And we do correspond, everything is Charter Township, but as Nathan says, that we are 00402 Alpena Township Fire Department with the state of Michigan.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was not made,
It's a weird.
but no, thanks for
misnomer.
thanks for the explanation.
Not a problem. So I would entertain a motion to approve the mutual aid agreement barring, and we already have with the corrections, we can actually go back and make some, move some vowels around, it seems
Yeah,
like.
paragraph 9 and
Vowels.
paragraph 3.
Add some vowels.
Vowel,
Vowel.
not B,
Vowel.
not B.
Here we go.
So we have any further discussion?
I wasn't sure either.
So, I mean,
We're all losing it.
I understood what you said.
thank you very much.
That's a
Uh,
B. B.
So yes, barring any other discussion, roll call, please.
Treasurer Ellery
Wait,
Summers?
Is there any discussion?
So, yeah.
Yeah, I'd like some.
It's
sorry,
over.
I'm looking at this thing and says in the event of a crash of an aircraft owned or operated by the United States, we have incident command. You want that?
Well, it'll definitely be a unified command and they will take command
That's not what
typically.
it said.
That's not what it says.
And the other thing is this, we have to hold them harmless from any problems at a scene.
And and that's pretty standard.
It's a federal government saying
Right.
thanks.
I
for
can
your help,
tell you
but-
that I have worked through some of the, not these types of contracts, but I've worked with government contracts.
Are we insured for this? That's all I have to do.
Well, the answer would be yes, but these aren't gonna hold up. You know, I mean, somewhere along the line, somebody's gonna say, I've dealt with this stuff before and you can get the government to move, but it's like herding cats.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
Seconds.
at least a
Everybody's
cold
got a
cat is like
supervisor.
molasses, but I mean, I'm more of a dog guy. So I guess we have a motion and support. Do we need further clarification from CRTC as to?
I don't know, Tim, what do you think? I just.
Well, and the crash, when it's, that Mark may assume full command on arrival, so that's discretionary.
If the incident falls within Alpena Township, naturally, we would be the command. But the first thing I would be doing is looking for a unified command officer to come and help me. Because they know their aircrafts. It's just it's a NIMS thing. So you'll be asking for their incident commander to take
So-
that scene.
Just as a point of clarification, that's actually in Wilson Township.
Right, but that airplane could crash any place.
That's a fact.
So if it happened to land within our jurisdiction, by jurisdiction standards, we're incident command until we're relieved of that command.
So we actually have before us the opportunity for further clarification from former colonel and basic commander. Colonel Francisco, would you like to?
You're close, that's okay.
Oh,
was at a base.
oh, you weren't the base commander? Was that Jim?
I was armed.
Oh.
Stealthy. The reason it says that is if it's turned on military property, the international military property, most likely be in charge, or someone at the base. But if it happens outside that, there's a law in effect, it's called, and the activity of defense support the civil authorities. The military can't be in charge in an area off of a military installation. That's why I think it says that in.
Okay.
They as a military, they can't be in charge in the civilian world.
Appreciate the point of clarification, sir. And
No.
I apologize for misplacing your service tenure with the thick mattresses of the Air Force and you definitely know how to spell, sir. So with that point of clarification, we have a motion on the table. Do we so choose to move forward with the mutual aid agreement as presented?
Does this just continually renew or is it for a certain term?
I don't think that there was a clause of termination.
Well, it talks about termination, but I just didn't know if it just kept renewing until.
Or did we have to do?
In the
Turn it.
past, they've, you know, in my previous job, every 5 years they review it
Okay.
and they go over it typically.
And you have 180 day out of any scenario.
Okay.
So.
Oh, yeah, we'll remain in effect for 5 years. Effective date.
Right?
Oh, it's in there.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh, I-
So,
Yeah.
it
with that
wasn't a
point of
number.
clarification, we do have, again, we have a motion and support on the table. Barring any further discussion. Roll call vote.
Treasurer Ellery Summers.
Yeah.
Trustee Kroll,
Yes.
Trustee Reiner.
Yes.
Trustee Foley,
Yes.
Trustee Lappin.
Yes.
Clerk Palovich, yes. Supervisor Skibby.
Yes. Moving forward, we have another recommendation through McQueen, which you've already addressed through this process. I've addressed the fact that we don't need to get 3 quotes, but secure the fact that because this is a sole provider of MSA, that the pool isn't as deep. So that's one way moving forward.
Point well taken. As you know, with all the different COVIDs and different things that are going around, this is something I've tried to budget for a couple of years that I would like to be able to have our full-time staff with their own dedicated face mask for their self-contained breathing apparatus. And reason being is that we're also, the next motion that will be coming up is that we're looking to equip those masks with a spectacle kit, of which I would say Jim Stackowitz had written a grant. We received $1,000 towards the purchase of these spectacle kits. I probably should have put this all together, but I broke it down separately in case one gets rejected. But as you can see, all of us older gentlemen, we all have eyeglasses. And if we're,
Let's hammer the first, because you're already into the next
Okay.
business. So let's get through this one.
anyhow, as a part of their standard operating PPE, it would be best if they would have their own mask that they can call their piece of equipment. And we have the paid on calls that have other masks in the back that can be used by those folks. And then when we're done, they can wash them, different things like that. But the full timers would have their own dedicated mask, and it'd just be a lot safer for any chance of, you know, if somebody's got a cold, I don't care how well you clean these things. If it's a day-to-day use, we're subjecting our employees to some, I don't know.
I'll make a motion. We approve the purchase of 6 face masks from McQueen in the amount of $3,675 at a GL 205-336-974-000.
We have a motion on the table. Is there support to that motion?
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Further discussion?
Are these adjustable? I mean, when you say that they are fitted to the person,
So McQueen will come in and they will size so the full-time staff has the proper mask. Some of us take medium,
I
some
guess-
of us take
so-
larges.
okay, all right. So my
They're not.
question is they're not custom fit to the person's space. They're adjusted to the person's space.
Right,
Okay,
So they're reusable by.
yeah, they're reasonable by someone else.
right.
All right.
Okay, any other discussion? Roll call vote.
Trustee Kroll,
Yes.
Trustee Reiner.
Yes.
Trustee Foley,
Yes.
Trustee Lappin.
Yes.
Clerk Palovich, yes. Treasurer Ellery Summers.
Yeah.
Supervisor Skibby.
Yes. moving forward, we're almost there a second ago, but Mark, would you like to
Absolutely.
bring forward your recommendation?
So, like I said, Jim had written a grant for the pilot company towards spectacle kits, because all of our staff, every one of them wears glasses. So when you get into a smoky environment and you're in there with your air pack and trying to read fuse panels and different things like that, sometimes we have to shut breakers off. Nobody can see. So
Hit the big one.
well, bottom line is that we would provide them with the spectacle kits. They would have to get their own lenses to their prescription if they so desire. And everybody seemed like they so desired that they would like to be able to see in these smoky environments. So I'm requesting that we that was one of the budget adjustments to move that grant money into the equipment line item. So really, after we're said and done, our total will be $135 out of pocket, but the total cost of the project is $1,135. So we come up with having to pay $135 for that particular, if this is so approved.
Okay, so we have a recommendation from Chief to move forward with purchase of 6 spectacle kits from McQueen Energy for a total cost of $1,135 to utilize GL 205-336-974-000 equipment. Is there a motion to that?
I'll make
support?
that motion.
We have a motion on the table to move forward with the recommendation as presented. Is there support?
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Further discussion? Trustee Reiner?
But was this the $1,000 grant? Was that specifically for this?
Right. Well, Jim had written it for SCBA supplies. So
Okay.
that seemed to be the most practical because it was closest in price. He actually had written the grant for 25,000. They graciously gave us 1,000, but hey, we'll take what we can get in that aspect.
So, question, you said, I want to break this down a little bit so I understand. This kit is something that affixes to the inside of the mask or something like that, and then I take it. Your prescription is different than everybody else's
Right.
prescription. So this kit that is detachable,
Mhm.
if I want to have that, this just comes as a like a wire frame for my glasses, and then
Yep.
somebody puts in so who pays for that?
So imagine taking,
The script would be paid through, and this is the question, and correct me if I'm wrong, that script, that cost would be actually affiliated with the insurance costs of each individual.
Right.
All right, so this would be no different than if I had vision insurance that instead of getting my glasses this year, I'm gonna get
set of
something
lenses.
for my kid.
Right.
All right,
We'll
that's-
provide the
so it's not-
frames.
We're providing the ability for someone to do that, not that we're paying for something.
Precisely.
Gotcha, thank you.
So
So then
everybody
the-
will pay for their own lenses.
Right,
Trustee Reiner.
So if
So
they
the-
don't want to pay for their own lenses, they won't be using this.
yeah, they wouldn't have a use to have. it.
So I have a question on that.
And the follow-up to that then, I guess, is then, so we own these lenses, not the lenses, the wire rims or whatever they are.
Right,
And so they would stay with the mask or with our mask.
Yep, they'd be able to pop their lens out and take
There we
their
go.
lenses if they
Take
like.
their
so
lens
this is
and go.
just really at the end of the day, if one could wear their glasses underneath that, then it means that there's a leak point somewhere,
That's
right?
correct.
All
Yeah.
right.
So yeah, these glasses, if you take off the arms here, you put 2 little clips in here, they clip into the mask itself. So when they put their on, all they're seeing is their lenses.
So a final, more general question then, is this part of the equipment that we're requiring that be inventoried and kept track of and retrieved at the end of someone's tenure?
I would make that a healthy assumption that's.
That
part
would
of-
definitely go into
There
our
was a
equipment.
discussion at a way back.
Yep. No, noted. So we have a motion and support to move forward with the recommendation. Any other discussion? Seeing none, I'll roll call. please.
Trustee Reiner,
Yes.
trustee Polly.
Yes.
Trustee Lappin,
Yes.
clerk Palovich, yes. Treasurer Ellery Summers.
Yes.
Trustee Kroll,
Yes.
Supervisor Skibby.
Yes. Moving on to the next item of new business, is, an invoice and a quote.
I'd like to thank the board for their time.
The invoices, just, so everybody can see what it costs per unit. We've already paid this invoice. When speaking with our auditors regarding, it's for
Track.
time clock, I know, I'm getting there.
No, I'm sorry.
Playing some background there, Laura. When speaking with our auditors, one of our weaknesses is paid on calls time. There's no checks and balances currently. We have been advised to
Institute.
correct that situation as soon as possible. This would allow all the time clock, all the paid on calls to have time clock plus on their phones. So when they get called out, they would just have to clock in on their phone and then clock out when they're done.
Just an app.
It's just an app on their phone, and we've already ran it by legal. We do not have to buy them each a phone. We can make it a requirement.
So if they get a new phone, then they just have to put in whatever code they need to put in to
Yes.
get the app.
Yes.
Okay.
And I think we timed it. It takes 9 seconds to log in. The only concern I do have is when looking at some of the paid on calls and how many calls they've gone on this year. It is $67 per employee. And we have like one person who's gone on 0 calls.
So I guess my.
And we either have
recommendation-
to, we have to mandate this for everyone. We can't like say, well, these 3 will have it, these 2 won't. It has to be consistent through the whole paid on call.
We've tried to talk about these things over the years relative to active roster members and not so active ones, and
Mhm.
trying to come up with a protocol. I wonder if this should go to the,
So that was kind of where I was leaning, trustee Lappin, is that, to the topic of participation, I think that we, convene a fire committee, meeting and have some good conversation in regards to that, independent of, the recommendation and the total cost of $1,000, $14.90, which could be obviously, depending on how those conversations happen in committee, a lessened number. But this is, and I printed out, it has gone through legal review. Our auditors, highly, recommended that we finally implement, something that has some legitimacy. And so we passed it to legal. They answered all the questions that we had in terms of, moving forward in an appropriate manner. Yes, trustee Ryan.
But just, to me, this is a practical question. I don't know if it is in your world, is that having been through a process like this, I sometimes have to manually input my in time because I so busy focused on what I gotta do next. And if I'm in a hurry, get into an emergency call or something, I might have, but there's a record of that because the time you got the call out. I mean, that's logged somewhere in a pager or something. So is there a methodology for manually inputting?
Yes, that would be if you miss a clock and you would have to notify the chief. And currently it's our department heads, but the chief for the fire department would be responsible for correcting times.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
and it happens for me when I punch a clock, but I'm sure any one of these.
We're all human, that's for
Yeah,
certain.
So I'm sending notes to Nathan all the time, hey, I missed my punching or missed my punch out, or, so. It's a little inconvenient, but I guess the auditors are wanting it,
It's.
well, I like the consistency of this.
It's the clerk's profession.
No one department should have to have some unique way of doing things.
Yeah, and I will pay for it for the clerk's department.
And I would just like to point out too, like, if this was effective at the end of September, we would basically already paid a month. Into the year contract, so maybe. as
It
soon
will
as fire
prorate it.
committee-
Real pro.
Oh, it will? Okay,
Yeah.
perfect.
Well, what we're paying for here, 1,014 is the number of apps, right?
Correct, at 15
15.
15 accounts, additional accounts.
So, It's just a matter of how many we're going to really
Yeah,
activate.
so I mean, maybe the, whoever's,
Can we delegate?
so
that to the fire
positioned to
committee?
make that motion is to give consideration to that motion not to exceed $1,014.
I'll make the motion in that way.
Following fire committee.
With not to
recommendation.
exceed on the
Yeah.
motion.
We have a motion on the table to move forward with the recommendation not to exceed $1,014.90. Is there support?
So I'll support that.
Okay, it's been moved and supported. Further discussion?
in the
Do
motion.
they do an audit of any sort? So in other words, if we buy 15 of these, and then at the end of the year, we only use 11 of them, do we get a credit?
We do not get a credit back and we have to let them know before it renews that we don't want, how many we don't want.
So there's
So
a
what
real
I have a-
incentive to get these things done right.
Right,
Well, they allow them transfer, say we have.
yes, if someone is terminated or leaves, then we can move it to another person. Which we've done that.
Yes.
So so just so I understand the motion, but it's going to go to fire committee to determine how many of these we're going to.
Well, two different items. Obviously, we're right now to discuss the TCP before us. My recommendation was to take the active rosters and have that conversation back at fire committee level to bring back to this governing body at a subsequent meeting day.
So I guess I'm still
Yeah,
not
but
clear
then
on.
Oh, well,
Then that holds her from,
So
You
yeah,
don't
we
want me
need-
to implement this.
No, I
immediately.
think you can implement it, but.
But I don't wanna buy 15 if
Right.
we're not, if I don't need.
Okay,
Why don't
well,
you do up to, and then,
That's what we
Yeah,
just,
That's
that
what
was the motion.
My motion, that's why I said up to, that way you can move.
So
forward with
just
it.
move forward with
Correct.
the ones,
that you know. for
Yeah.
sure.
the employees who are above average in their usage.
So we're
Number of
and
calls.
approving the costs for the other departments.
Chief,
And
if you'd like to take the podium.
I'm sure this company would be happy to add more lines.
Right, I mean, I could start
That
out
was
with
gonna be my next.
5 and then we can add them.
I'm
If we
sure
put further paid on call staff on, that's something we could just add
they would be
to
happy to
case
take
by
up
case
the-
scenario.
To be a part of the employment contract.
So. With those points of clarification, we have a motion, we have support on the table to move forward with the recommendation of time clock plus. Barring any further discussion, roll call.
Trustee Polly,
Yes.
trustee Lappin.
Yes,
Clerk Plavich, yes. Treasurer Ellery Summers.
Yes.
Trustee Kroll,
yes.
trustee Reiner.
Yes.
Supervisor Skibby.
Yes. Okay, and moving forward on the agenda, that concludes all of the new business.
I have a motion to read.
Yeah, and I've not heard anything back from Mr. Patterson. So I would entertain a motion.
I make a motion that the township board to enter into closed session to consult with the township attorney regarding trial strategy in the water and sewer rate litigation pending before Alpena County Circuit Court pursuant to MCL 15.2681E.
We have a motion on the table to go into closed session. Is there support?
support.
It's been moved and supported to go into closed session. Further discussion? Seeing none, roll call please.
Trustee Lappin,
Yes.
clerk Plavich, yes. Treasurer Ellery Summers.
Yes.
Trustee Kroll,
Yes.
trustee Reiner,
Yes.
trustee Polly,
Yes.
supervisor Skibby.
Yes.
What time is it?
It is Okay. We are now officially back in open session. And this is the second and final opportunity for public comment. Is there any public comment in person or online? Again, this is the last opportunity for public comment.
Signed by his name.
Is there any public comment in person or online? Seeing no public comment, any discussion for the good of the order?
I do have.
Well, we had, who I was looking this
Oh, I'm
direction,
sorry.
so that's
Was-
Norm, Steve, Russ.
All right.
Just a comment back on that pickup that we spent $800 on. I was very close to voting for no for that because if we would have got rid of that pickup, we wouldn't have been spending the money, plus we'd have had that money in the equipment fund that we need. I hear about a tanker that we need that we can't afford. And I don't know how much this tanker is, but, I don't remember what the number we have, but apparently all I'm hearing is we don't have enough money in this fund. So I just want to put that comment out there. I still don't agree that we need that third pickup truck, but that's only my comment.
Trustee Lang.
The other day I went out to Misery Bay Nature Preserve, which is great. If you haven't walked out on it, you should. The one comment that I would have is that there's a great map out there that shows a blue line and a yellow line and a pink line of the various trails that are out there, and there's only blue arrows out there. So I'd also like to see those arrows pointing in both directions. But yeah, if there's a yellow line there, I couldn't find a yellow line.
Copy that. Blue arrows corresponding color. Trustee Reiner.
I was gonna ask the status of the tanker as well, so where are we at with that? We just decided we don't have the budget for it, is that?
Well, I don't know where those conversations have come or gone. I'm actually going to ask, and so I was working on an RFP, actually, set up an account through Sourcewell, which is, independent, semi-quasi governmental agency based out of Minnesota, that works, basically as a wholesaler of RFPs. So what they do is actually write out, I think they have 600, I've already set up an account through the township, 600 various accounts, one of which is for fire service apparatus. I started digging into it, and because all I have is the Sears Roebuck wish list of pieces, parts, and equipment that are mandated for what we need. I will say, and I'll be sitting down with the fire truck committee and probably correspondingly with the fire committee as a whole. In my infancy, looking through one of the service providers that have a contract, what we have on a list is a want and not a need. So I think we have to fine tune, because literally in one of the companies, I started clicking boxes, and we went from a tanker that would meet the needs and actually be greater than what we currently have, and we went straight to a Cadillac. So I think we need to really kind of pull that back from want, and define what our needs are, and take that approach. So.
And will a company like this that you're talking about working with, help us make those differentiations? Because we don't want to get to like we bought a engine out here that didn't have enough parts on it, right? It had some missing parts.
Well, that was the whole reason why we have that committee. That's interesting. Is that a web page that you can? bring to
So,
the-
and I'll sit down now, actually, I'll show it to the fire committee, because it takes. KME, they drive you to, so Sourcewell itself writes RFPs that meet state and federal standards. So we don't have to go through an RFP process, because technically they've already done it, and it meets all legal standards. Now what that's the Sourcewell company does as the umbrella is saying, here's 4 different companies and sales companies that we have contracts with. And so I can reach out to those companies within the state, obviously,
Send them
for
the
logistics.
RFP that they provide.
And no, we just send what we're looking for in terms of those requirements, and they define it and work it out and say, here is your quote.
That's what I meant.
Yep.
Okay, yeah.
But like I said, getting back to it is, 2 different topics. One, what are our needs? Because your principal question is, I keep hearing that we don't have the money for it. Well, we don't have the money for a Cadillac with supple kangaroo leather seats. Ew. But what we do have is a need, and so it's differentiation of what are our needs? What is the standard? Because we have already had our newest engine, E1. We went through the same vetting process with every staff member, and as professional as it was, we know in retrospect that there was a litany of a list of things that were just grossly overlooked. You know, we had to have 4 doors. We got stuck on, we needed 4 doors versus a phone mechanism, a monitor. The list goes on and on. So it's an imperfect scenario, but what this does is opens up a better conversation of here's the source of reality. And I bet you for a sheer fact of what I've already looked into, we can afford a tanker that will be better and last for 20 years. But we can't afford what's on that list.
I had 2 other things.
Yep.
So our meetings are uploaded somewhere, I imagine, is it YouTube?
Yes,
And how long does it take to get them up? To the
we
public?
have them, it'll probably be up by this Friday.
Okay, is there a reason why it takes that long?
We have to edit them and stuff to get rid of what's on each end, and it just takes time, and we have other things to do during the day
Oh,
too.
okay, okay, just,
Yeah, actually, in comparison to that question, Russ, I think it takes, the city has a contract with a provider. And it takes them over a week
Hmm.
to even
I was
get
gonna say,
meetings
Friday.
uploaded.
see, I'm a part of a church from across state and their meetings are up same day or their
Well,
church
God
services.
bless them.
Yeah, I don't know how they do it.
There's a reason that there's separation between church and state. Because God works as his speed and government works at a completely different.
And
speed.
we saw in the consent calendar that Frank Krasinski is resigning. Is that gonna cause us any?
No, actually, amazingly, we already have people in line.
Okay.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
That's great.
And it will give us the first time as a municipality, the opportunity to actually define that position and what contractually it looks like.
He just doesn't want it, so.
Electrical.
Yep. So, no, we're blessed in that regard, keeping the religious mantra cruising down this highway. Any other discussion for the good of the order? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to
So moved.
adjourn. We have a motion on the table to adjourn. Is there support? Steve.
Steve, support.
It's been moved and supported. All those in favor of adjournment signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned at 8:55.
Right, you're a
Thank you
couple
very
tables.
much.